recording of the Fairfield Representative Town Meeting held on January 25th, 2021 via WebEx and telephone. As a reminder to our participants tonight, please identify yourself as you begin to speak. I ask that the clerk please do the roll call.
Mike Mahoney.
Here.
Veronica Monahan. Amy O'Shea.
Here.
Amy Ruggiero. Bill Gerber.
Here.
Karen McCormick. Cindy Parham.
Here.
Jeff Steele.
Here.
Alex Durrell.
Here.
Matt Jacobs.
Here.
Scott Nicker.
Here.
Sharon Pastilli. Laura Carson.
Who?
Alice Kelly.
Wait, Laura Carson's here.
I got you. Meredith Odenak.
Here.
Marcy Spolier.
Here.
Will Diaz.
Here.
Josh Garskoff. Joe Siebert.
Here.
Jay Wolk.
Here.
Matt Ambrose. Hannah Gale. Lisa Havey. Tamisha Paul Dunmore.
Here.
Lauren Bove.
Here.
Mark McDermott.
Here.
Jill Vergara.
Here.
Karen Wackerman.
Here.
Hank Ferentz. Pamela Iacono. Christine Messina.
Here.
Pete Tallman.
Here.
Drew Georgiadis.
Here.
Rick Rauer. Chrissy Kelly.
Here.
Bill Perugini.
Here.
Janine Alianello. Frank Patisse.
Here.
Marissa Ringel. Peter Britton.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Betsy, if I may,
please
did you
stand
get
for-
me? Karen McCormick?
Yeah. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to have a moment of silence just in sympathy to all of the members of our town who have lost people to COVID. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is to hear an address on the state of the town by the first select woman. Brenda?
Good evening, Madam Moderator.
Good evening. Welcome. Yes. Are you able to hear me, Brenda?
Yes, I can. Can I start now?
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the RTM, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, I am honored to stand before you this evening as your first select woman to deliver a State of a Town address. As called by our town charter, we gather once a year for a report on the state of our town, and we reflect upon our accomplishments and our many challenges that we face as we set the future. When I stood before you a year ago to deliver the state of the town, never could have I imagined what 2020 would bring. And at that time, never did I anticipate the many obstacles that our town would face. I and many others thought that our biggest challenge would be the investigation and remediation of the fill pile. Unfortunately, that was not the case. The next day, after my budget passed the Board of Selectmen, I sent out my first newsletter with information about the pandemic, encouraging residents, if you don't feel well, please stay home. It was a concerning and uncertain time for me as a newly elected leader of a town, and for my administration, and for all our citizens. Just days later, I signed a declaration of emergency and opened up an emergency operations center. Like all organizations and corporations and governments alike, the COVID pandemic was a critical development which took everyone by complete surprise. Throughout the early days of the pandemic, our emergency management team, which includes myself and relevant department heads, members of my administration, and led by Chief Dennis McCarthy, jumped into action and worked daily to plan our response. While other town governments shut down their town halls for months, I am proud to say our town hall was only closed for 3 days, which enabled my team to put together the necessary safety protocols needed to maintain services for our residents and businesses who were struggling with their own private challenges. I am proud of our team and thankful for the selfless leadership they displayed on behalf of our citizens. Throughout this crisis, the well-being of our residents has been at the forefront of my mind. It has served as my motivation and inspiration over these past 11 months. Let us not forget those who suffered from the virus and those in our community who lost their lives because of it. It is during trying times like these that people of great character so often rise to the occasion to benefit all of us. And this experience was no exception. I would like to take a moment to highlight the extraordinary dedication of our health director, Sans Clary. Sans worked tirelessly with his department and the emergency management team under unprecedented circumstances, starting with the first coronavirus mitigation team meeting on February 27th. We first focused our efforts in our community on community education and answering the questions and concerns of our residents through videos and public service announcements. Our health department established a robust contact tracing operation, which provided invaluable information and resources for our community. Today, 11 months into the pandemic, our health department continues to make thousands of contact tracing phone calls while also responding to thousands of calls to help keep our residents safe. They have worked around the clock since the pandemic started and welcomed and accepted their responsibilities with grace and professionalism. Most recently, Sans was responsible for setting up one of the very first town-owned operated vaccine clinics in our entire state, which provides a model operation for residents to be vaccinated effectively and safely. I've received an overwhelming amount of positive feedback for their professionalism, efficiency, and the hard work of our health department. I hope you will join me now in thanking Sans Clary and his staff in the health department. Chief Dennis McCarthy and Sans Clary were invaluable to me throughout this public health emergency. Working with them has shown me their leadership and steadfast commitment to our community. Chief McCarthy kept the emergency management team on task and is always a few steps ahead of the next challenge. Chief McCarthy and the members of our fire department provided leadership to the planning team, the public information team, office team, and the operations team to ensure our town was prepared, and continues to do everything we can to protect our residents and our town employees. I hope you will also join me in recognizing Chief Dennis McCarthy as our Emergency Management Director and all that he has done and continues to do for the town of Fairfield. I wish we were all together with all of them instead of the way we are now. Our Social Service Department and Senior Center also rose to the challenge by shifting their daily operation to helping on several different fronts, including coordinating phone calls to residents who were isolated and needed assistance with our Friendly Caller program. They delivered more than 10,000 hot lunches to homebound seniors and residents with disabilities. They delivered nearly 400 bags of groceries to families who were unable to get to the food pantry. Operation Hope, SERVE, and the Salvation Army put together food boxes and set up drive-through food pantry so that our residents could access the pantry safely. More Fairfield families utilized Operation Hope's food pantry than ever before due to the economic impact of the pandemic. I would also like to recognize the residents of our community and community organizations who stepped up to volunteer their time to host food drives nearly every weekend in an effort to keep the food pantry well stocked. We should all take pride in how our residents in Fairfield rallied to help each other during this crisis. I am very proud to say we also quickly established Fairfield's COVID-19 Relief Fund, which raised money from generous residents to support 47 Fairfield households with mortgage and rental assistance, utility, car payment, and other living expenses. The fund is still accepting donations from those who want to contribute, and applications are available for residents still in need of assistance. I really want to thank everyone who helped make this possible. During last year's State of the Town address, my focus was on economic development and attracting new businesses to Fairfield. The pandemic forced my administration to pivot from attracting new business to helping our local businesses survive. All hands were on deck to ensure that we did everything within our limits of our authority to streamline normal government regulation and make it easier for our businesses and restaurants to survive under the new state-mandated COVID protocols. The town quickly approved 50 outdoor dining locations under this program, including 27 sites that had not previously had outdoor dining. And in an effort to assist our restaurant community, I waived permit and licensing fees for restaurants for expanded outdoor dining. And our building and zoning departments turned permits around in 2 days or less. Our health department also assisted our local businesses to ensure they were in compliance with CDC guidelines. Our Office of Community and Economic Development responded to this challenge by launching a small business assistance program through which many grants provided help with the cost of personal protective equipment, physical modifications, and other operating costs associated with safety. Those grants assisted 67 businesses in our town, which resulted in having 124 jobs saved and creating 14 new ones. Late last October, we also launched a new Buy Local campaign, an e-gift card program to support our local businesses in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. Over $40,000 in gift cards have been purchased since its launch. This is $40,000 going directly to support our local businesses. And I also want to say how encouraged I've been by being able to cut ribbons for new businesses opening in our town during these economically challenging times. I hope all residents who are listening to this message tonight will make it a top priority to shop and support our local businesses at this crucial time for their success, because their success is our success. In part due to these efforts, the impact of the pandemic was lessened on our local businesses, and I want to report that for the first time, our commercial tax base in Fairfield has grown from approximately 9% to slightly higher than 11%. Looking to the future, I will once again prioritize working on key sites such as the former Exide Battery property and the Fairfield Metro Center Station, and other major commercial development areas that are important for the growth of our community. While our commercial tax base has grown, and to boost that growth, which will also lessen the burden on our residential taxpayers. This past year, I have met with the owners and developers of commercial sites across the town to share my vision and offer our town department's expertise and advice. While the pandemic will continue to have an impact on the commercial real estate market, Fairfield continues to have strong demographics that bode well for new business investment and to take hold once and in the overall business climate improves. I am happy to report Fairfield has fared better than most neighboring towns, as evidenced by our new business openings. Having two prominent universities in our community has always given Fairfield a competitive advantage. They play a huge role in attracting talent to our town, which is instrumental for enticing new business and for business retention. Sacred Heart and Fairfield University are both major employers in our town and have a significant economic impact. I will continue to collaborate closely with both of them. Last year, the pandemic necessitated my administration to begin the process of fundamentally changing operations in town government. The first step of which was to negotiate and pass Fairfield's first 0% tax increase. I knew this had to be a priority due to the financial impact on our community from the pandemic. However, I want to be very honest with our residents that passing a 0% tax increase with all of the needs of our town was no easy task. It has presented real challenges for me crafting this next budget, which will go before the town board starting in March and will be worked on over the next 5 months. We have just begun this year's budget process and have already recognized the difficulty in providing basic services at a reasonable cost to taxpayers. And I am pleased to note that the decisions that we made to continue to ensure that our town will retain its AAA bond rating. And my administration is committed to maintaining that rating. Our finance department, under the leadership of our new CFO, Jared Schmidt, has and will continue to request all available relief funds. I am pleased to note that we have received in excess of $550,000 so far in reimbursement, and more is expected. Upon taking office, my initial focus was to clean up corruption, environmental contamination, and provide transparency for our residents, and new leadership and management for our town employees. I am taking these long-term and widespread challenges head-on to restore trust and accountability in our town government. My administration has worked diligently this past year with both state and federal environmental agencies under the guidance of our environmental attorney and licensed environmental professionals to comply with the regulations and ensure that the town is following all testing and remediation requirements to the full letter of the law. While our environmental contamination issues may have seemed to take in a back burner during the pandemic, I want our residents to know that my administration has not let up our work and the pressure on these agencies. Unfortunately, the pandemic has had an impact on these agencies' ability to quickly review and sign off on our remediation plans, and that continues to delay our ability to move forward. While this has been a black eye for our community, cleaning up this environmental contamination and the public corruption associated with it remains a top priority for me, and I will include updates when I have them with our community. While Fairfield feels like a small town, especially to me, because I grew up here, Fairfield is not a small town anymore. We are actually a small city with over 61,000 people and an operating budget over $300 million. With thousands of employees between the town and the schools, with an active, engaged community, and important issues that sprout up every single day that our community expects their government to be responsive to. Because of the size of our town and the responsibilities, I hired talented individuals to assist me in delivering on my vision and goals of being transparent, informative, and providing timely information for our community through my newsletter, and to ensure town departments are running at their highest levels. Also incredibly important to me is communicating with our community through that newsletter. While the newsletter takes a great deal of time and planning each week, I believe its transparency and regular honest communication with residents is the most important job of an elected official, and I take it very, very seriously. The response has been overwhelmingly positive to my weekly newsletter, and I'm so grateful to those who submit suggestions for content or simply write back a note of thanks or information to share. A look back through these newsletters provides a lot of insight into the work and accomplishments of my administration during this past year. Before I came into office, the Board of Finance commissioned an outside audit of the Department of Public Works to identify where there were lapses in oversight and accountability. My administration was eager to receive these findings, and in July, I established a cross-departmental working group headed by my Chief Administrative Officer, Tom Bremer, to meet weekly and go over those audit recommendations. Since then, we have addressed 35 of the items on the list and are still working to address the others and to implement the necessary safeguards to prevent any future corruption or mismanagement. I also would like our residents to know that I recently hired John Marsilio as our new DPW director. John comes to this position with 35 years of experience in construction and public works for municipal government and the private sector. He has studied the audit in great detail and is incorporating the recommendations into the daily operations of the department. In March of last year, I also hired James Hazelkamp as Fairfield's new Human Resources Director. Jim came to this position with over 30 years of experience to help me in implementing personnel policies and procedures that have been neglected for so many years. When I shared with Jim my vision to reorganize how our town government works, he recommended we offer a volunteer early retirement incentive program, which is widely used by municipalities. I first discussed the plan with leadership of both parties of the representative town meeting back in September of 2020. I explained my goal was to reorganize departments, to create efficiencies and eliminate duplication and waste, make government smaller, more efficient, and smarter through technological advancement and managerial improvements. And finally, change the overall culture within town government to improve the customer service experience for our residents. I was excited to bring this proposal to the RTM and was pleased it passed last month. 17 employees elected into the voluntary retirement program, and since then, we have been working to analyze operations, identify efficiencies in our town government that will be implemented and included in my proposed budget. I will continue to work with all elected officials on both sides of the aisle to move our town forward in a positive direction. Over the last year, we have made investments in town hall to upgrade technology in our conference rooms, which actually proved to be very timely given the virtual meetings we've had to accommodate this year. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge our IT director, Dave Kelly, who has worked to ensure our town meetings could be held virtually which has added a huge workload to himself and his entire department. Our town buildings and infrastructure require investments that are reflected in the long-range capital plan that we put together this year. I want to personally thank Selectman Tom Flynn for his hard work with my administration so that we have one document that contains all short-term and long-term projects and prioritizes them in a way so that we can fund them in a fiscally responsible manner. Last month, all three town bodies approved a $5.1 million appropriation for the town to purchase the 12-acre site in Southport to provide our alternative high school with a more cost-effective and long-term location. This was a good investment for our town, and I was happy to work collaboratively with the Board of Education and school administration and the town bodies on its acquisition. I look forward to having conversations with our community to receive feedback on ideas and additional uses for the remaining portion of the property. I'm also excited to announce that we are implementing an online permit software system to offer residents and businesses a one-point entry to interact with all permitting departments. My intent is for this new technology to make it easier on those doing business with our town and create efficiencies in the workflow of those departments. In 2017, the Strategic Planning Committee was established to provide recommendations on how to improve Fairfield for the better through incorporating public interest into local government initiatives. I was so pleased to recently meet with the Executive Committee to review their final draft recommendations, which they will present to the Board of Selectmen in the coming weeks. I hope residents will pay attention to this process and read the final report, as I think many of their recommendations will be beneficial for our town. I want to thank the members of the Strategic Planning Committee for their years of volunteering their time on behalf of our community. In conjunction with those recommendations, I will be starting the process of impaneling a charter revision commission to address recommendations in the strategic plan, as well as other proposals I have identified over the last year. One example is a proposal to change our town seal, which I believe should be updated and can only be done through charter revision. In upcoming newsletters, I will provide more details on the timing and the process to establish the commission, and will be seeking volunteers to serve in accordance with the rules set out by the town charter. I have been diligently working with my administration on reorganization efforts and assembling the budget, and I will be presenting to the town bodies for consideration and approval. The budget I am working on will reflect the reality and impact of the pandemic, the economic challenges our citizens continue to face, and our goals for our community based on residents' feedback. I believe the budget has also to take into consideration the rate of unemployment, wage stagnation, and increased costs that are confronting our citizens and businesses. The school administration's budget proposal that includes nearly a $10 million increase poses a significant challenge for me and our community that values education, but whose citizens are facing financial difficulties. We must work together to balance both. Certainly, when I chose to run for first selectwoman, I did not expect it to be easy. But I also wasn't expecting to be faced with a pandemic. However, I know that the residents of Fairfield elected me to do this job because they had faith in me to solve problems and make the difficult decisions. I pledge to the residents of Fairfield that I will continue to keep my promise and that I will do my best every single day. I will never allow politics to take precedent over policy. I will continue to reach across the aisle to work on important positive changes for our town. And I will provide helpful information to keep residents updated and informed. My door is always open, and I will always be accessible to our residents, our business community, and to you, the elected officials of our town. I want to sincerely thank our residents for sharing your kindness through emails, calls, and generous gestures over this past year. Your support and encouragement has been a real blessing to me through a difficult year, not only professionally, but personally. Despite the challenges, I am looking forward to a new year filled with hope and promise for Fairfield, because we are in this together. God bless the great town of Fairfield. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam First Selectwoman. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
The next item on the agenda is to receive the report from the First Selectwoman or her designee on leases of town properties. This report was received at the committee meeting. I think there are one or two responses we're waiting for still to some questions. Item 4 on the agenda, to hear a report from the blight officer concerning condemnation and blight. This report was also received at the committee meeting. Item 5 on the agenda, to receive a report from the First Selectwoman or her designee on the voluntary early retirement incentive program offered to town employees in December 2020. This report is in our meeting materials. Item 6 on the agenda is to consider and act upon the minutes of the annual organizational meeting held on December 14th, 2020, and the special meeting held on December 21st, 2020. May I have a motion to approve these minutes? Representative Georgiades, second by Representative Nickel. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Representative Gerber.
Yes, hi. I submitted to Betsy Brown some amendments to the minutes to reflect some of the information requests that I had asked of the First Selectwoman prior to approval of the, actually as something that I needed in order to cast a vote in favor of the VRIP. So just like my requests were not in the minutes. If you look at page 4, paragraph 4, my requests weren't reflected appropriately in the minutes. So I'd just like to read in place of that paragraph what I think is representative of what I said. Bill Gerber, District 2, said the information provided by the First Selectwoman had been very helpful, but reiterated a written request to the First Selectwoman's office by Representative Vergara for a commitment to provide information, including the following: A, the final actuarial valuation and additional payments related to those employees who elected the VRIP within 1 month. First Selectwoman Kupchak agreed. B, a list of VRIP acceptances, their position descriptions, related salaries, and ages within 1 month. First Selectwoman Kupchak agreed, except that she explained there may be Human Resource Department issues with including ages on the report. C, by September 21st, a presentation that includes the state of the restructuring of the time, at that time, including at a minimum a list of positions vacated through VRIP that have been filled, showing actual salary differentials, and the status of the implementation of best practice HR practices, which were described by the First Selectwoman as essential components of her town hall modernization program, including updated job descriptions, performance reviews, up-to-date employee files, prompt disciplinary notifications and actions. First Selectwoman Kupchak agreed and included employee training in the list, with the caveat that some of these initiatives will still be work in progress at that time. Representative Gerber indicated he understood. Mr. Gerber explained that the importance of this follow-up information is because VRIPs have been completed many times in the state, including in Fairfield, but there has been no follow-up to analyze whether the stated goals were ultimately met. And that is what I'd like to change paragraph 4 to.
Okay. So we have a motion to amend the December 14th minutes accordingly, seconded by Representative Wolk. Is there any further discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the amendment to those minutes?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. So now the main motion, is there any more discussion on the approval of the minutes for the December 14th and December 21st? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of to approve those minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. That passes unanimously. Okay. The next item on the agenda, to hear, consider, and act upon the following appointment to the FairTV Commission as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Mark J. Joyella, Democrat, 64 Shoreham Village Drive, term July 20 to 2023. And I know Mr. Joyella is here today. Mr. McDermott, are you raising your hand? Representative, no, okay. Mark Joyella, are you here?
I'm here.
No, I saw you, yeah.
Yes, I am. I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Can you just briefly tell us about why you're interested in this commission?
Well, I've been in town for almost 5 years now, and I've always had an interest in serving and never had an opportunity that fit so well with my background, having been worked in television for 25 years as a TV reporter and anchor, and have a passion for television. And when I saw this, I thought, this is my opportunity. So I volunteered myself, and here I am.
That's great. Thank you for doing that. Does anyone have any questions for Mark? Representative Wolf?
Hi, Jay Walk, District 5. First of all, I want to thank you, Mark, for volunteering for the Fair TV Committee. I've been involved with the Fair TV Committee for quite some time. Just to let you know, I know you just said you were involved in TV for a long time. You know, public access TV is completely different than regular TV. So hopefully that we'll all get together and get this ordinance all passed at one point in time. And again, I just want to thank you for joining the Fair TV Committee.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? I will note that Mr. Joyella is a neighbor of mine and very well regarded, and also his resume speaks for itself. So, no other comments. I'll take a vote now. All in favor of approving this appointment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Oh, thank you. Mark is pointing out that I did not get a motion to approve first, so I'm going to go backwards. Representative McDermott has moved to approve. Can I have a second? Representative Pastilli. Now we'll do all in favor.
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Mark, for coming tonight.
Thank you all very much.
Next item on the agenda, to hear, consider, and act upon the following appointments to the Ethics Commission as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Brian F. Cantor, Democrat, 150 Curtis Terrace, term July 2019 to 2021. This is to fill a vacancy created by the resignation of Robert Bolito Jr. And Dana Carey, Republican, 7 Greenacre Lane, term July 2019 to 2021. May I have, we heard from both of these candidates last last week at the committee meeting. May I have a motion to approve this item?
I make a motion to approve.
Representative Iacono, seconded by Representative Pistilli. Any discussion? I see that there's a motion by Representative Havey to split the motion, split the resolution vote. Is there a second on that motion? Representative Georgiadis. Any discussion on this sub question of whether to split the resolution vote? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote on just that motion, whether to split the resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. So on the table now, we'll start with the approval of Brian S. Cantor. May I have a motion to approve Mr. Cantor for the Ethics Commission? Representative Vergara has moved. Is there a second? Representative Siebert seconds. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Mr. Cantor's appointment to the Ethics Commission, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. That motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Cantor. I think I see you on the call. Next, may I have a motion to approve Dana Carey's appointment to the Ethics Commission? Representative Iacono, seconded by Representative Gerber. Okay. Any discussion? Representative Georgiadis.
Through you, Madam Moderator, to Ms. Carey. I believe, is she here? I don't see her.
I'm not sure.
Are you there?
Dana, are you here? I don't see her in the list of attendees, actually. I think she's not here.
Okay, Madam Moderator. I had a question for her, so can you advise me on how I should approach that?
I guess we could postpone the vote, or I think she's not on, so.
It's not necessary to postpone the vote, so I'll withdraw my question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other discussion on this item? Mr. Baldwin, are you on this call? Jim Baldwin? I see a question in the chat whether we can postpone this vote. Is there? I'm not sure if that's an issue. But we're not going to anyway. But Drew, you
I've
said you're going to
withdrawn my
pass
question.
on that.
That's fine.
Okay. Is there any other comment or any other question on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a vote on this. This is for Dana Carey's appointment to the Ethics Commission. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Betsy, I don't know if you can see Representative Havey and Representative Georgiadis raise their hands for that. I don't know if anybody else has. Abstain? I abstain.
I abstain.
Aye.
Representative
Nickel, Representative Carson,
Jacobs.
Jacobs,
Nickel.
Odenak. Who's the other?
Scott Nickel.
Nickel, yeah. Betsy, Marcy Spolier. Betsy, would you be able to maybe read off what you have for the abstention so we're sure we have everybody right?
Okay, I have Jacob, Wackerman, Odenak, Nickel, and Spolier.
Anybody whose name was not called?
Those were 5 abstentions.
Carson.
Thanks, Sarah.
Carson, did you get Laura Carson? Sorry, Betsy, you got her?
Yes. Right, so there's 2 noes
Okay.
and 6 abstentions.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, thank you. The motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Item 9 on the agenda, to hear, consider, and act upon the following appointment to the Special Projects Standing Building Committee as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Stephen M. Kornudik, Republican, 151 Home Fair Drive, and this is to fill a vacancy created by the resignation of Gerard J. Keogh. May I have a motion to approve this item? Representative Perrin? Second, anybody? Let's see. Representative Nickel is seconding it. Is there any discussion on this item? We heard from him last week at the committee meeting. Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor of this appointment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone voting no? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Item 10 on the agenda, to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Resolved that in accordance with the recommendation from the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, the Town of Fairfield sell the property known as 216 Riverside Drive to the adjacent owner at 196 Riverside Drive for the sum of $22,500 by quitclaim deed. May I have a motion to approve this item? Representative McDermott has moved. Representative Diaz is seconding it. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Pistilli.
Sorry.
Okay.
So I would just want to make a comment, like just for going forward, that I think we'd like more details on the methodology for the assessment.
Okay. Thank you. Representative Gerber.
Yeah, is Attorney Baldwin on the line?
I thought I saw him, but let's see if there's any participants.
Well, I had a question for Attorney Baldwin just about.
Attorney Baldwin? I don't see him in the list of participants. I guess he's not there.
He's here.
Okay.
He's here.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, I see him on camera.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I see him too. Hi, Jim.
I'm here, sorry.
Oh, hey, Jim. Bill Gerber, District 2. Madam Moderator, through you to Attorney Baldwin. I was wondering, Attorney Baldwin, is there a written process, written guidelines for how odd lots, are that the town owns, how those are valued when sold to adjoining neighbors?
I'm not aware of any specific guidelines, but there are the rules of in the town code for the real property part of the code, which require your approval, among other things, and also suggest the necessity of an appraisal being done on the property. But there are exceptions as to whether or not you have to abide by that appraisal. But in this case, it was. There's also the I'm drawing a blank. The purchasing policies of the town, which would require it going out to bid. So those two things both happened here. So there was a bid process, and that's consistent with past practice of the town.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this to me, this one seems a little tricky. And I'm not saying that I would vote against it because of really the materiality of what we're looking at, but I was a little concerned that the procedures or the valuation methodology used while it's an interesting data point to use other odd lots, that have been sold in other parts of town, that there should have been, and probably a heavily weighed methodology for a benchmark should have been the contributory value of this piece of property to the acquirer. And the reason I say that is because Mr. Murray, Ross Murray, provided what would be sort of an instantaneous accretion of value to the merged property. After this was acquired and merged, there would be about $66,000 increase in appraised value to the two pieces of land. And so it's essentially a 200% instantaneous gain to the acquirer in terms of appraised value, which seems very high. Again, the difference between the $22,250 minimum bid that we used and the $66,000, it's $43,750. I'm not sure that meets a materiality threshold to go back and redo this, but I was hoping that there could be some, or if you disagree, then let us know. But some maybe methodology written down, codified for instances like this, that a negotiated value that incorporated contributory value should be a major factor, so that we don't have such a big differential between the methodology that was used here, which doesn't really seem to be terribly relevant to this situation. And I was also wondering if it would be possible, to produce, if we have some sort of, and this wouldn't maybe be for you, but a list of similar properties, just so that we know what is out there that the town owns, where we could be seeing a situation like this again. And feel free to comment if you think I'm off base.
Thank you. Yeah, I will comment on the valuing of the property is difficult, because if we're required to put it out to bid and the person is not an adjacent property owner, then only the adjacent property owner would have that additional value. So I think that's the approach taken by the appraiser. I completely understand where you're coming from, but we'd have to kind of sync up those two concepts, that is, having it go out to bid and, a fair appraisal of the property. But I think it's worth looking into, most certainly, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
And in terms of other properties in town, there are other parcels in town similar to this where, well, it could be more problematic. I won't go into details or specifics other than to say that that there are other parcels, and I'm sure that we could gather a list of those, and also at the same time with any of those which have interest in them by adjacent property owners, perhaps that would be the opportunity to look into what you're talking about more thoroughly.
Yeah, and it seems like when you've got a property that, there's two adjoining property owners, they're really the only ones that'll get any value out of this. It's not really a liquid, it's not really a bid, you're not going to get a market rate from that. They know each other, they're talking to each other probably, and so it's not exactly a liquid market where you expect to get a competitive price. And in situations like that, we might consider having just a minimum bid based on, some sort of thing that incorporates contributory value. But thank you very much.
Representative Georgiadis.
Georgiadis, District 9. Through you, Madam Moderator, to Attorney Baldwin. Most of my questions reflected the questions that Representative Gerber had, just that a bid when there is really possibly only one interested party does not suit the best interests of the town. So if we could evaluate that process, I would agree. My second question to Attorney Baldwin, in committee meeting last week, we had requested the possibility that the revenue from this sale go to one of the trusts, Open Space or H. Smith Richardson. I don't believe We got a response to that, and I would like you, Attorney Baldwin, to address that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd be happy to, and I'm sorry I didn't get to you sooner. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity now. Respectfully to the RTM, I simply don't believe that the RTM has the authority to appropriate funds in this manner. It's analogous, if you will, to increasing the budget on a line item, which the RTM does not have the authority to do either. I think that the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance are vested with the authority as to where to designate funds.
So we don't have the authority to designate, just to approve or disapprove?
No, to the contrary. You absolutely have the authority to do that. And if you wanted to reject it on that basis, and it would obviously either wither on the vine or go back to the Board of Selectmen for their consideration and possibly revisiting the topic or possibly not. So that's part of your consideration as to whether or not you want to vote it up or down. But I hope you understand in the technical sense, you are not able to, at this meeting, for example, add an amendment designating where it should go.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Baldwin.
Welcome.
Are there any other questions? I think Representative Iacono.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Pam Iacono, District 8. I just wanted to say for the record, through you, to the administration and the Board of Selectmen, as they consider these land purchases moving forward, if they could have the conversations about whether or not they go into the general fund or the Land Acquisition Committee or Smith-Richardson Fund or even the Affordable Housing Trust, I think that we would all appreciate that vetting and consideration if they would just take note of that moving forward for whatever it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you. You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to ask the same thing. Are there any other questions or comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Veronica.
Opposed.
Opposed.
And who is the other person? Veronica
Jill
and
Vergara.
who? Okay. Anyone else opposed? Okay, any abstentions? Okay, thank you. The motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to item 11 on the agenda. To hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Resolved that an amendment to a lease and license and access agreement with Fairfield Community Theater, LLC, for town-owned property adjacent to 1410 Post Road B and hereby is approved. Have a motion on this item, please. Representative Siebert, seconded by whom? Representative Wolk. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Pistilli.
Madam Moderator, I'd like to make a motion for an amendment to the lease, which was in response to updated information that we received from Mr. Barnhart this week.
Okay. Are you able to read the language?
Yeah, so it's in section 2B of the lease under base rent, and it's the definition of summer term and winter term. So summer term is defined as, okay, so summer term shall mean the months of April through October of each year, provided that in the event the town of Fairfield Planning and Zoning Commission or other competent authority shall regulate the days on which outdoor dining shall be permitted, such regulation shall govern, and such period shall be deemed to be the summer term for all purposes hereunder. And the definition of winter term shall mean the months of November through March of each year, provided that in the event the Town of Fairfield Planning and Zoning Commission or other competent authority shall regulate the days on which outdoor dining shall not be permitted, such regulation shall govern, and such period shall be deemed to be the winter term for all purposes hereunder.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to this motion? This would be amending the main motion. Representative Vergara seconding it. I just want to ask Mr. Barnhart if we got that all right, that language for that amendment?
Yes, you did. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Okay, thanks. Are there any questions or comments on this motion to amend the main motion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. So we're moving back to the main motion as amended by Representative Pistilli's motion. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative McCormick.
Yes, I have a comment, perhaps a question as to whether or not it is premature to vote on the proposed amendment to the lease, given the fact that zoning has not yet approved the footprint and particularly the square footage for the leased space or the demised space, and as a result of that, it is very possible that after going through zoning, there could be an amendment or a modification to what they approve based upon the amount of space that's being proposed to be taken up on the sidewalk. So I guess I would like to make a motion to table the vote on this until such time as zoning has formally approved specifically the precise amount of the square footage. Otherwise, we'll be in a position where we'll be going back to revisit the amendment one more time if, for example, zoning doesn't approve the entire 1,170 square feet as proposed in the amendment.
So it's a motion to table it or maybe to postpone to the next?
To postpone it until zoning formally approves the proposal.
Okay. So I think it's postponed to the next meeting to a date certain, and then we'll revisit it at that time.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second for this to this motion? Representative Iacono? I'm wondering if Mr. Baldwin is on the call to address this at all.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that it may be easier for everybody involved if the amendment, which makes perfect sense, is stated such that it is the approval is contingent, execution is contingent upon approval by town planning and zoning as presented, and if there are any changes, then it would come back to the RTM.
Is it something that we could postpone till next month, or is there a problem with doing that?
No, I'm sorry. I was just speaking to another way to accomplish the same purpose without necessarily coming back here, anticipating that.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but to answer your question, no, there's no reason why you can't postpone.
Okay. Mr. Barnhart, did you want to comment on that?
If I may, it's kind of a chicken or the egg question here. I believe Attorney Baldwin did lay out one alternative. I would be remiss if I didn't remind everyone here that the Planning and Zoning Commission has already considered this exact lease, and it actually had proposed the language that you just incorporated into the addendum. So they're very familiar with the proposed layout. It's true they haven't considered it as part of a site plan application for the use itself, but they certainly understand what's coming and have reviewed as it relates to the outdoor area that's in question as it relates to this lease. So I think while it's possible they could perhaps change the footprint, I think it's unlikely given the fact that they've already considered this very matter.
So it sounds like you're suggesting that the chances of it changing enough that it has to come back to us are maybe low.
I think it's low. It's not impossible, but I would suggest maybe the language that Attorney Baldwin laid out, which would then allow us to go forward on this and also give the restaurant tenant some certainty as to whether in fact they'll be able to use the premises for outdoor dining as currently contemplated.
Okay, thank you. Representative Monahan?
I just have a question about the size. I think it's wonderful that there'll be another restaurant downtown. It sounds like it'll be a wonderful corner.
Veronica?
Yes. Yep.
I'm just going to interrupt you. So at the moment, we're just going to be talking about whether to postpone the motion to the next meeting. And then if that fails, then we'll go back to the main motion and we'll talk about that, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about safety on that corner, but okay, thanks.
Yeah, no, but that's a good thing to talk about. We'll just move to that after we wrap this one up. Are there any other comments on the motion to postpone this vote?
Point of order. I don't think we had a second to the motion, did we?
Yes, Representative Iacono seconded
Oh,
it.
you did. My bad. Sorry.
So we could vote on this. We could then consider Mr. Baldwin's change to the language that it's subject to approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission, or we could reject all of that and just vote on the main motion. Those are the probably the current options. So with seeing no other comment on this motion, let's take a vote on whether to postpone to the next meeting to a date certain, which is Representative McCormick's current motion. So all in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
No.
Okay.
Aye. No.
No.
Nay.
No.
Any abstentions?
No.
No.
Betsy, I don't know if we need maybe a roll call vote for that. I'm not sure. Maybe the people who said aye could identify themselves. I think there were fewer than no's.
Roll call
Who
would
said
be
aye?
easiest.
I think so.
Yep,
Betsy,
roll
are
call.
you there? Yeah, okay, thanks.
Mike Mahoney,
No.
Veronica Monahan.
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No.
Thank you. Amy O'Shea. Aye. Amy Ruggiero. Bill Gerber.
No.
Karen McCormick. Karen McCormick. Cindy Perham.
No.
Jeff Steele.
No.
Alex Durrell.
No.
Matt Jacobs.
No.
Yes.
Sharon Pastilli.
You're on mute, Sharon.
Laura Carson.
No.
Meredith Odenak.
No.
Marcy Spalier.
No.
Will Diaz,
No.
Josh Garskoff,
No.
Joe Siebert,
No.
Jay Walk,
No.
Lisa Havey,
No.
Shamisha Dunmore,
Aye.
Lauren Bove,
No.
Mark McDermott,
No.
Jill Vergara,
No.
Karen Wackerman,
No.
Hank Ferentz, Pam Iacono,
Yes.
Christine Messina,
Yes.
Peter Tallman,
No.
No one has audio.
Drew Georgiadis,
No.
Rick Brower, Chrissy Kelly, Bill Perugini,
No.
Sorry, this is Chrissy Kelly. No.
thank you. Elizabeth Altabelli, Peter Britton,
Yes.
Frank Batiste,
Yes.
Marissa Ringel,
Betsy, my WebEx crashed. McCormick is a yes.
thank you. The noes have it.
Thank you, Betsy. Okay, so we're back to the main motion, which is to approve the lease amendment. Is there any discussion on this item? I just want to ask, I'm just going to ask Mr. Baldwin, do we need that language that it's subject to approval by the P&Z, or is that implicit? Should we be adding that anyway?
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate to add it anyway, not necessarily to the amendment, but rather to the resolution. Just add at the very end, contingent upon final approval by the town plan and zoning for final approvals.
Okay, hang on a sec.
Would be, so amending the resolution.
Okay. Representative Garskoff is moving that we amend it in that manner, and it's seconded by Representative Pistilli. So we, just to make sure I have it right, at the end of that resolution, we would say contingent upon final approvals of the Town Plan and Zone Commission. Okay, great. So we have a motion on the table to amend the resolution. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion passes. So the main motion is on the table with as amended. Is there any discussion? Okay, Representative McCormick?
Yes, so a couple of things came to mind in reviewing the proposal, and while I'm having some technical difficulties here, hence my video's off, I apologize. My computer crashed and now I'm stuck with my iPhone. But I guess the issues that I have with as this lease amendment is presented is that the landlord of the building is the tenant under the terms of this lease, and my understanding is with respect to most other sidewalk space that is leased in front of restaurants that the actual business owner or restaurant owners are the party who enters into the lease agreement with the town and not the landlord. And the concern I have, and I believe some fellow representatives have, is that the per square foot price or the total price for this lease that the landlord receiving is not subject to any kind of limitation once the landlord then enters into a lease with the underlying tenant or restaurant owner. Therefore, the price per square foot that the landlord charges the tenant can be upcharged, and there's no limitation on exactly what the landlord can charge the tenant. And given the fact that this building and this development has been in part financed through tax incentives and I would say taxpayer subsidies, to me, there seems to be an issue with not putting some kind of limitation on how much the landlord can charge the end user restaurant owner or business owner. And for that reason, I have major concerns about the landlord being sort of given carte blanche to charge the end user whatever they choose to charge, when in fact, you know, there is some incentive for the town to continue to promote and encourage these types of restaurants to have outdoor dining space, which everybody seems to enjoy, particularly with the current situation. So I also understand that there's a major discrepancy between the price per square foot that's charged between the various restaurant owners. Some restaurant owners are paying a very low amount per square foot, and some others are paying a high amount, and then this one seems to be somewhere in between. So for all those reasons, I have major hesitations with supporting this, given the fact that there's no limitation on how much the landlord can charge the end user restaurant owner, who, in my mind, is really the party that we want to kind of encourage, and to the extent that we can, you know, do what we can to make sure that they don't end up getting some kind of no option. Basically, they're going to be left with whatever the landlord dictates to them they have to pay to use the space. As this is a, my understanding is it's in one instance it's going to be the outdoor dining space is going to exceed the indoor dining space. So for all those reasons, I have major concerns about approving this. I would approve it if there was a limitation on how much the landlord could charge, with the understanding that they have to make a profit of some sort, and they may also have to get their build-out costs back if they're going to improve the area. But I have concerns about them, you know, doubling and tripling the town charge to the end user restaurant owner, who I believe in this day and age is really struggling. So for all those reasons, I'm not going to support this right now.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay, seeing none, let's take a vote. So this is to approve the resolution as amended by the change we just made a few minutes ago. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
McCormick is
Opposed.
Anyone else? So that was
Opposed.
that just Representative McCormick?
Veronica Monahan.
Okay.
And Amy O'Shea.
Bill Perugini.
Okay. Okay, so Veronica, Amy O'Shea, Karen McCormick, Bill Perugini. Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. The motion passes. And we will move to the next item, item 12. To hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Finance. Whereas it is in the best interest of the town of Fairfield to expend a total of $64,304 over a 3-year period on engine maintenance on the 33-foot Safe Boat Defender and the 23-foot Safe Boat and upgrades of the electronics on 33-foot Safe Boat Defender. $48,228 of said cost to be funded by a grant available under the Federal Department of Homeland Security Port Security Grant Program, PSGP, and a 25% match from the town of Fairfield, $16,076. Now, therefore, be it resolved that First Select Woman Brenda Kupchik be and hereby is authorized to accept in the name of and on behalf of the town of Fairfield a Federal Department of Homeland Security Port Security Grant in the amount of $48,228, and further resolve that the First Select Woman is hereby authorized on behalf of the town of Fairfield to sign and execute any and all necessary documents to secure said grant, and further resolve that $64,304 is hereby appropriated to fund said maintenance and purchases. May I have a motion to approve this item? Representative Nichols, seconded by Representative Wolk. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 13, the proposed amendments to the tax relief for the elderly and disabled homeowners ordinance, section 95.8 to section 95-15 of chapter 95, article 3 of the code of the town of Fairfield, as recommended by the Board of Finance, have been referred to the Legislation and Administration Committee. Item 14 on the agenda, to consider and act upon any other matters presented to said meeting and which may be properly acted upon under the rules of the representative town meeting. I'd like to just suggest that the body thank Chief Liddy for his years of service to the town. He'll be retiring momentarily, and welcome Chief Calamaris. But let's give a hand to Chief Liddy. And thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Representative Diaz, so moved. Seconded by Representative Perham. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Don't oppose this extension. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next month.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks.
Karen.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Hey, guys.
Aye.